Former Vice President Mike Pence is speaking in New Hampshire today.
At this point, he has not announced a 2024 presidential bid, but he has made multiple trips to the first-in-the-nation primary state in recent months. The former vice president was last in the Granite State in December promoting his book, So Help Me God. The speech today is Pence's first since saying that history would hold Trump accountable for January 6.
CBS News reporter Sarah Ewall-Wice joins us now from Keene, New Hampshire. So, Sarah, what is the former vice president expected to focus on in his speech tonight?
It'll be interesting to see if he continues on the path he was taking with his most recent remarks about January 6th, where he went after President Trump and said history will judge him accordingly, and basically laid into him, saying that the former president's comments endangered his family, and really talking about January 6th in terms of the president being wrong about overturning the election and Pence's ability to send it back to legislators. I think it'll be also interesting to see how he mingles with the voters here who attend his event. Basically, this is an event with the Cheshire County Republicans, and he'll be giving remarks. There's a dinner, there's a VIP reception. So it's a lot of the regular on the ground, shaking hands, meeting with people, kind of getting to know what voters here in New Hampshire are interested in what they care about. But it'll be also noteworthy to see how he navigates this, because President Trump really does still have such a strong standing among Republicans in New Hampshire. And so that'll be something for him to navigate as he moves forward here. Of course, he has not actually officially launched a campaign, just visiting a lot of these early states, as you said.
Well, Sarah, you mentioned that the former president still has a lot of support. Recent polling in the 2024 Republican field shows that Pence is pretty far behind Trump and even another potential presidential candidate, Ron DeSantis of Florida. As you say, places like New Hampshire can make all the difference when candidates show up there and shake those hands, talk to the voters one by one. What are you hearing from the people there in Keene?
You know, it is still very early in this primary season. I think it's really interesting because when you talk to folks in multiple early states at this point in time, there's an indication that there is an openness to move on from President Trump. But, you know, it'll be worth noting exactly how things proceed here in this state, because New Hampshire is actually known for doing a pretty good job of picking the Republican presidential nominee in these presidential cycles. Of course, it was a state that did vote for Donald Trump in 2016 in the New Hampshire primary. Take it back a few years, it was a state that did vote for Mitt Romney in that primary, and then he went on to win the nomination. And then you go back a little bit further, and of course you have John McCain. So it has a track record of actually picking the one who eventually goes on to become the nominee. As you mentioned, President Trump, nationally, he is well ahead of the pack in terms of the recent polling. Quinnipiac had him at 46%, with Ron DeSantis behind at 32%. And then you have Governor Mike Pence, former Vice President Mike Pence, who was literally right behind Donald Trump in the administration at 3%. So it'll be hard to see how he kind of moves forward here, gathers support, especially when there is this back and forth between him and the former president over January 6th.
Speaking of Ron DeSantis, he is facing criticism from both sides of the aisle after saying that supporting Kyiv is not a vital U.S. interest. What is Mike Pence's take on the tensions in the GOP over that?
You know, it is very interesting. This has been one thing that has really divided the field of candidates and potential candidates in the 2024 Republican primary, between support for Ukraine and those who's like Ron DeSantis, who recently said not a vital interest. But, you know, Vice President Mike Pence really did lay out his foreign policy outlook in a speech recently. And basically what he said is that the U.S. needs to accelerate support to Ukraine. That, of course, puts him at direct odds with recent comments by Governor DeSantis, and it puts him at odds with his former boss, former President Donald Trump. So it'll be very interesting to see how these candidates talk about foreign policy overall moving forward, especially when the comments of Governor DeSantis received a lot of criticism, really, from some Republicans, especially specifically lawmakers on the Hill, following his platform there. So it'll be interesting to see if this even comes up from the former vice president here tonight. But of course, we'll have to wait and see.
All right, Sarah Ewall-Wice, thank you, and we will see you later on Red and Blue.